Hello YouTubers. Man, those things look nasty. I had to do a job interview with these today, but I figured why put a band-aid on it, because it just looks stupid too, Anyway, this is going to be a little more lighthearted video than I've been delivering as of late. A friend of mine, I don't really do the Facebook friend thing anymore, but I don't really do the Facebook posting thing anymore. When it comes to Facebook, I post something on my wall just now and then for the most part, I kind of just look at things that I've been tagged in. And other than that, I leave the thing alone. I've gotten in some Facebook trouble, so I just kind of avoid the thing now. Other than those instances, I think I'm gonna put some black electrical tape over these things on my face, just because I'm really tired of looking at them. It's like I'd rather look at the. It's all weird because it's kind of like backwards. I'd rather just look at the electrical tape than the wounds on my face. So yeah, it's like an anime thing. That's gonna be a lot less distracting during the video than seeing two wounds on my face. Anyway, I got tagged in a Facebook photo today that my friend said, "This reminds me of an amazing BBS I used to log onto when I was a kid." And that was actually my dad's BBS. And I don't know, if any of you out there have kind of logged on to this thing or not, but it's called the Enchanted Forest, and pictures of the forest. It's really kind of cool. And then I kind of got to thinking, wow, I could totally do kind of a YouTube video about that, because I was sort of there. I'm 35 now. Looking at 36 pretty quick. So, guys, I believe this friend of mine's about 36, 37. My brother's in his early 30s. And we were all kind of there when personal computing kind of came about, A lot of you younger guys these days, you have a personal computer sitting on your desk, and you're like, it's like such an everyday thing for you, A lot of you probably don't even know what DOS is, or even a BBS, or anything like that. So I just kind of felt like it might be kind of neat to just do a couple of videos on my experiences with those things while I have a cup of coffee with you guys. I've already eaten plenty tonight, so there'll be no food this time. And I know it's way too late to be drinking coffee, but excuse me, I've been having this weird trouble sleeping anyway that I don't think has anything to do with caffeine. So in order to kind of be productive at night, I gotta kind of get some caffeine in me. So let's see. My computer credentials. The first thing I had that, or me and my brother, or let me just say my family, had that could be considered a personal computer was a Commodore 64. That was probably 1988 or 89. Christmas of '88 or '89. I think it came out in '88, so... let me look it up here real quick. Because I'm using the Wikipedia for looking these things up. It's easier these days. Let's see. Well, I'll look it up when my computer decides to. I'm running Vista right now on a Dell XPS 210, and I find that 4 gigs of RAM, which the system maxes out at, just doesn't quite cut it. Oh, Commodore. Okay, let's see. The Commodore 64 that we had, let me see if I can find it here. I've been here before, and I know, let's see. Virtual console. See, we had the Commodore 64C with the 15412 floppy disk drive and the 1084S monitor displaying television compatible, because we did use it with the TV. So, yeah, let me see. Yeah, so that would have been the Commodore 64C. So that was actually '86. The exterior design was remodeled in the sleeker style of the Commodore 128. This was for a game console called C.A.T.S. So I guess it was. It could have been the Christmas of '86, '87, something like that. And that could very well be right. So that's kind of when computing started for my family. In fact, I remember being so into, because we kind of, when you're a kid, you don't really look at the manual, so, we kind of had to, our granddad and grandmother were over, and our grandfather had been into computers for a long time. He was already kind of running a software company by that point. So he kind of helped us figure out how to use the thing. And that was kind of cool of him, but I remember being so into that thing, because we had this little ninja game that our dad got us with it, or Santa got us with it. And once that was working, like, my brother and I just couldn't be torn away from it. Like, in fact, my great-grandparents were over for Christmas that year, and I remember my grandmother coming into my bedroom where the computer was set up, and saying, "Hey, you boys come and say goodbye to your great-grandparents." And I was, like, vehemently just not going to do it. I was not going to be torn away from that thing. And I remember that as being kind of the only time in my life I ever tore my arm away from my grandmother's hand and said no. Now, I didn't go on to really become a gamer. That's more my brother. I kind of got into playing guitar and stuff, but I never really got away from computers. But I kind of played all the Commodore 64 games there were to play, and they were actually pretty hard, if I remember. And I knew a couple of people at school that had them too, and they often complained that a lot of the games were sort of hard and kind of unbeatable. I remember there used to be this magazine that released code for the C64. If you typed the code in properly, and maybe one of you guys out there that knows me knows the name of this, my brother might. I don't recall the name of the magazine. If you typed all the code in right, which you didn't do often, but if you managed to do it right, you had a little game to play. It wasn't always the greatest game, but you programmed it, and you could save it to disk. The commie, we called it, had a little operating, a little basic operating system that could save stuff, what have you. So that was actually pretty cool. And that was sort of our first kind of introduction to computers. And of course, we had an Atari 2600 kind of before that. As far as games go, maybe the 2600 was a little better. They were kind of equal systems. The Commie just took a little more skill to use, and it was more useful for other things, like you could write stuff with it. And I just looked here on Wikipedia, and it looks like there was eventually a graphical user interface for it called GEOS. Which looked a lot like Mac's. Looks a lot like the early Mac OS. But we never really kind of got there because eventually, I guess we just used this thing so much that it fried. I mean, the power supply just cooked itself, and we weren't really we weren't really in a position as a family to replace stuff like that when we needed to or wanted to. We kind of lived on a budget, so I was really surprised that we had the computer at all. But when that cooked itself, it was back to the Commie, or it was back to the Atari for a little while. And that was the other cool thing about the Commie, was you could just hook an Atari controller up to it. Any controller that was compatible for Atari, you could plug right into the Commie, and then you could play. I'm not sure how much success we really had with it. I seem to remember doing it a few times, and you may have had to look for games that were compatible, but at least some Atari games you could plug right into the Commie and play them as well. The Commie also had a slot for a modem, and that sort of became our first kind of internet computer too. There's probably going to be a part B and maybe even a part C on this, so let me do that now.